Hello again and thanks for joining. So today we've got another vintage Fleischmann steam locomotive to have a look at. It's number 1364 in the Fleischmann catalogue and it's a Deutsche Bahn class 41 with a 282 wheel configuration. I'm thinking this is going to be quite a good vintage model to have a look at, so let's get this open and we'll take a look. So I'm thinking this is actually a really old model because it's very heavy. I think it's all made of metal and some of the wire handrails on it do look a bit crude and quite thick by comparison to later Fleischmann models. But let's have a look at this a bit closer up. So this locomotive is really heavy. It is actually loco driven. You can see a cog of the gearbox just there behind the back wheel. At the front of this loco we've even got wire little markers here. It looks as though we've got illumination on these lights as well, all three of them. And the moulding doesn't have a lot of really fine detail, but it does have some good detail around the firebox door here. The buffer beam looks as though it's made of plastic and there's an extra part that's added on, but these buffers are made of metal because they are a little bit rusty. We've even got a dummy little coupling there as well. Down the side of this locomotive there's some degree of pipework moulded into the main piece of metal, and we've got these wire handrails running the length of the boiler there. It's not the most detailed and finessed of models, but certainly it is robust. And here in the cab we've got more wire handrails, quite a thick one running along here. You've got the Deutsche Bahn logo there and the number 41344. There's also a red line running the whole length of the locomotive here, which is masked off on the black. And that comes down these steps here. It's actually done not too bad at all, although the masking isn't so good on the top of that tank there. Inside this locomotive it's dominated by a huge big motor, so there's no getting away from the fact that it doesn't have any interior detail. The windows aren't flush fit either, just flat pieces of plastic that have been held in there. Looks like being held in by the wire of the handrails outside the locomotive. And down this side of the locomotive there's no real difference to the first side. But you will notice it's got some wires here too. They look a bit rough and frayed. I'm hoping it's going to run okay. You can see the chassis, which is also made of metal, and these pony trucks are also made of metal as well. Quite a large wheel under the cab here, a smaller one at the front, and the four driving axles have metal wheels on them, and it's all metal valve gear as well, with some really good inserts done in red there. So underneath we're told it's made in Germany here, and over here it's made in Western Germany. I think it's probably around about the 1960s, I would guess. Certainly looks quite impressive and it's very heavy, but let's have a look at the tender. So this is a plastic moulding. There's not much details here. There's some scratches on it, unfortunately. Quite a crude moulding, and that's even saying something compared to the locomotive. The coal is not too bad actually. It looks quite good up here, but there isn't a huge amount of detail on the moulding. We do have an indication of some lights at the back here. They're just picked out in silver paint. So the buffer beam at the back is made of metal, and the metal buffers which are going rusty again. And the rest of the chassis, all the red part, is made of metal, as are the bogies, and they're held on just with these rivets underneath. Interesting, under here on the tender it says made in US Zone Germany, but it's certainly a survivor. This has a little bit of weight to it and a simple coupling to the locomotive, but all the drive is in the locomotive. So let's put this on the test track and we'll see if it actually works. So here we are on the test track, just some old Hornby third radius, and I'm using my old H&M controller for 12 volts DC to power this. I did notice when I coupled the tender onto the locomotive that it does actually have a spring and a bit of movement there along the drawbar, and that would mean that the locomotive would set off and then shortly after the train would follow it, so that's a bit funny there. Anyway, let's give this some power and we'll see what happens. Well, how cool was that? It actually runs perfect, and the gearing is fantastic as well. It can crawl along at a really nice speed, but it picks up if it needs to as well. It's really testament to Fleischmann build quality of the time that this doesn't actually need any servicing at all. It just runs and it's perfect. I'm really impressed with this model, and it's a very heavy one, so let's put this on the scales and see how much it weighs. So it's probably one of the heaviest I've ever seen. It's 701 grams. Well, what an incredible model this has turned out to be. It's probably older than I am, but yet it runs much better than I can run. It's a real survivor, it's got such character to it, and it's been around for so long, and I think it will be around for many years to come. It's such a robust construction, metal chassis and metal body. It has so much weight, but yet it seems to have a really good motor as well, and the gearbox seems to be good too. It doesn't even make that much noise when it goes along the track. And also of note on this model that the lights at the front work no problem at all. It's quite incredible that it's still running after all these years. It is probably older than I am, and it'll probably still be around long after all of us have gone. I think models like this are really testament to how good model manufacturing was back in the day. Today we've gone for detail, perhaps over robustness and longevity, and comparing this to a modern steam locomotive in terms of detail and finesse is just not the point. I think if you threw this against a wall, it would still run, whereas if you threw a modern locomotive against the wall, it would just break into many parts. And I think that's where this beats modern stuff. I'm really impressed with this model. I think it's great, and it's been a real pleasure to have a look at it today. I hope you've enjoyed seeing this video as well. Let me know what you think of this old survivor in the comments below. I'd love to know your thoughts. And if you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up. It really helps this channel grow. You can also subscribe to keep yourself up to date with model railway news and reviews. And I'll put this on the turntable so you can see all the way around. And in a moment, another video will appear. Just click on that and I'll see you there. But that's it for this one. Thanks for watching. See ya.